Hey crafters, DM Scotty here. Good to have you with me on the DM's Craft. This week I won't be posting a video on Sunday. I usually always post a video on Sunday, and occasionally I'll post it a week, but next week I'm really busy, but I didn't want to miss a video, so I'm going to post this video early, which would be normally posted on Sunday, but I may not have a chance on Sunday, so I wanted to get it up there. So I may have a chance to do another video next week, but I'm not sure. I may not. So at least I'll have this video for next week. But this is a pretty cool video. You know, as role players and gamers, you know, our characters, they get beat up by the DM's monsters, and they need to recover. They need to rest. Need to get their mana or spells back, or heal some hit points or wounds. And a lot of times, that happens just in role playing or description, but occasionally you may have a random encounter, or the DM may have just be mean and have a plan to attack you in the middle of the night or during the night. So it's nice to have a little setup ready in case that kind of thing happens. Now what I've got for you today is a super easy and cheap way to set up a nice little camp. In this setup I'm going to have a couple little tents and a fire, and it looks great. It's great for the table, great for encounters. Like I said, it's super cheap and easy to make, and you'll be ready for any of those nighttime raids that the monsters would do on the players. So let me stop babbling and let's go to the table. For the start of our campsite, I'm going to use a frame for the tent, and basically this is just thin cardboard, and I've cut it. I've measured 3 inches this way, and then I put it in half, so it's 1.5 inches to the center of the tent. And I have several here, so I'll just cut this. I'll just cut this other one off. So you can see I've got that, and then I've got the center marked. So I'm going to take the ruler, and it helped me to bend it straight. I bend it. Now I want to bend it the opposite way. All right. So now I've got a nice little tent shape, but the problem is this is going to kind of keep going down like this. There's nothing to hold it up. So I need a brace to hold it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some cardboard brace. Now I've cut these inch squares. So I'll cut one of those off, and then I'll cut that in half. So we have these triangles. Now I'll glue that in and show you how it works. All right, let's give some structure to this tent. So I'm going to grab one of these triangles and put some glue on the 2 edges of it. Then I will insert it in the tent, right up against the inside there. Let that dry for a sec. All right, so I got that. Now I'll get the other end, so I will take my other triangle. Now I want to do something to the outside of the tent. I'm going to use a glue gun for that. What I want to do is kind of make the sag of the tent. So, let's try. So I'm going to grab the glue gun, pull that back, and then I'm just going to kind of pull, not too heavily, kind of get that detail, almost like the tent's sagging a bit. So there you can see what I got going on there. So now I just need to do the other side. This will help give the tent some character. All right. So now I've got a nice little sag to our tent, and we'll move on to the next phase. Here I just have a folded napkin, and I'm going to use that for the tent. So I'm going to put it down on the napkin here, and I want some overlap. So I'm going to cut it on the fold here. That seems good. And you can see I have some here on the end, and I'll do the same at this end. Okay, so I've got some nice excess. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the the napkin. So I'm just going to use water, and I'll just put it in there, get it wet. Okay, so it's very wet. I'm going to straighten it out. And then to dry it off a bit, I'll just put on my excess napkin. So I'll just lay it on that, and that'll kind of suck up that excess water. And I'll do that again. You could put some glue in the water, but you don't have to do that, because I'm going to show you what you can do here. Save your glue, less messy. Okay, so now I've got my tent, and I've got my wet piece of napkin. So what I'll do is I'll grab my white glue, then I'm going to smear both sides of the tent with glue. And I'll just kind of do that a little bit with my finger. Now, put it on the tent. And that sticks pretty well to that. See the folds are showing through that wet napkin. So that's nice. That'll give that a nice tent look. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the end like this and kind of get an idea of where the bottom is, and then I'll just cut that off. Like that. So now I'm going to put some glue on that. I want to get under the flap too. Now one end is going to be, one end will have the kind of opening flap. This end I'm going to have not be really the opening flap, so I'm just going to kind of lay that down. So now I've got a nice end on that, like that. And if you feel it's getting if it's kind of loose, you can lift up a little bit and pull it over some. Okay, so nice. All right, now we'll go to this part. Do the same thing. Just fold it over. So, and we'll cut that excess off. All right. So now the same thing. We will just add some glue. Now this end I kind of want to be the opening flap. So get that glue spread on there. So I'm gonna kind of not push it all the way up against the tent. Kind of give it some relief. So see, it's kind of like that. So that gives the illusion that that's the flap of the tent. That's the front. So there we go. We have got our tent. So what we need to do is we'll just let this dry, and then we'll move on to our next step. But while we're letting this dry, we'll work on our campfire. I'm going to put a little glue on the outside too, just to make this super strong. And so then you just make, you know, if you need a different size tent, or this is more of like a traveling tent, but if you need a different size tent, you can always just do the same kind of technique, just make it larger. You could even do different shapes of tents. There are many different shapes. All right, great. That'll look fantastic when we let that dry. So let's let it dry, and we'll move on to our next step. So hey guys, here's the start of my campfire. I've cut like a little cardstock template that I'm going to use. And I have a figure here just for kind of scale. That seems about right. Now, what I like to do is I'm going to put some wood in here so it looks like a fire. But what I've got here is I've got a stick, and it's not really a stick. It's more like a dried weed. You can probably find a lot of these in the winter too. Or if you cut them down during the summer, they'll dry out. So I find these are a little more realistic than a stick. The sticks just tend to be fatter, so these are a little thinner. So what I'm going to do is I'll just start breaking this. And there, I think that's plenty. So I'm going to grab my glue gun. This is my mini glue gun, and I'll put a nice dollop in there. And I'm going to start placing the logs. I kind of like to have them coming out a little bit off the template itself. Now you could do this a little bigger, and you could do like a stone thing around it if the players were more conscious of the effects of starting a forest fire. Get a nice little effect there. So there, I've got a nice start to this fire. A few of these logs are a little long, so I'm going to cut them off. Try to get them a little more realistic length. All right, that's looking pretty nice. Now I will move on to the next step. Let me give you a little close up of that. Nice little wood pile there. Here I've got a close-up of my fire. It's on a styrofoam plate because I'm going to be messy. So what I'm going to do is I want to kind of simulate some embers on the fire. So I'm going to grab my white glue and just start filling in around the wood here. And now I'm going to use a toothpick. I'll try to keep it in view there. So I just kind of pull that glue in there, fill it in. Not trying to cover everything up. Just want to get a nice spread there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll put you back on my plate. Show you, get it centered there so you can see. Now I'm going to grab my construction glue, or I mean my construction sand, and it has some nice larger pieces in it. So I'll just pour that. I'm just going to bury that into that sand, and we'll let that dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Got my fire here, and you can see that I dumped the rest of the sand off, so it looks like there's some coals and embers and stuff in the fire. I could leave it like this and just paint this part, but it might be, I thought it'd be kind of cool if I used the flexible modeling paste and added some flames. I'm not going to add too much, just a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll grab a clump of this stuff, and then I'll put it on the top of my logs and just kind of pull up, just so I can get some kind of spikes on there. And I'll show you in more detail. I want to make sure you have enough to get that effect. So just kind of pull it up a little bit. All right, nice. So let's see if you can see that there. That'll look really great when we paint it. So now we'll let that dry. And when I come back, I'll show you everything painted. I'll show you the fire painted, and I'll show you the tents and everything. So, and then we'll have our little camp scene ready. So let's I'll go paint that, and then we'll come back to the table. Here we are with our nice little campsite set up. As you can see, we have the fire. It's all painted. We have the 2 tents, and they're all done. We have a character out here, you know, guarding while the others are sleeping. It looks really, I think it looks really good. I'll give you a couple close-ups of everything. So here's the fire, and you can see how nice that came out. So basically, I just painted it. I didn't spray paint it black like I normally do. I didn't even paint it at all. I just actually did the yellow areas and then painted the wood, a brown wood, and did the fire technique with the orange and the red. And then I put a little bit of black on it to simulate like coals that are kind of falling off the fire. I hope you can see that detail there. And then just that little bit of relief with the texture paste, I think really gives the flame a nice look that it's coming off of the logs. So we got a nice little campfire going there. And then I'll give you a closer look of a tent. So here we go. Here's the tent. We got a little flap going on there. And you can see the paint really brings out that texture we did on the side here of the cardboard to kind of make it look like it's draping just a touch. And they came out really nice. And so you can easily set up your players' campsites. You could use this technique for enemies too. You could have like an enemy camp or something and the players come upon it. If you're fighting, you know, and the players come out, you could leave the tents, or if the fight, you know, they knock down the tent or something, you could have the players trapped inside the tent and they have to like cut their way out of the tent or crawl out or figure out how the hell to get out while the action's going on. And then you could just remove the tent if something like that happens. So there we go, our nice little easy campsite, and I'll see you next time on the DM's Craft. Hey guys, if you're really digging these videos and would like some more information or to talk to other crafters, look at the link below in the description, and you can join my forum on the DM's Craft. We'd love to have you, and I'll see you there.